Hey guys, in this video we'll be having a look at designing a laser cut bracelet. So we'll be cutting slices of 3mm MDF and stacking those slices together to create something more interesting. So let's start in a blank Rhino document, and it doesn't matter which window you work in, whether it's top or front or right, it doesn't really matter, but for mine I'm going to be working in the front viewport. Now I need to design the internal oval that's going to fit my arm. Now generally speaking, most jewelers design with a ratio of 1 to 1.2 for that internal shape. So I measured my arm, or the bracelet I want to design. I want that interior to be 50mm tall, and if I multiply 52 by 1.2, that gives me 62 approximately, ballpark figure. I'm rounding down. So what I want to do is I want to align that midpoint with this midpoint, and I'm just going to align the whole lot with the center of my design plane. Now I can go ahead and draw an ellipse from center to match those dimensions, and that's going to be the interior shape or size of my bracelet. Now next up, if I want to do the outside of my bracelet, I could in theory just go ahead and say offset curve with a measurement of 10mm up there. But the downside of that is if I draw an ellipse from scratch, I have minimal control points and it's a simpler shape to work with. If I do offset curve, I end up with a lot more control points than I really need. Now I can rebuild that, but it's an unnecessary step. So what I want to do is I'm just going to draw a line outwards from there, 10mm this way. And I'm going to draw a line outwards that way, 10mm that way. And I'm going to draw another ellipse from center to match the ends of that line. So this is the basis, the interior and the exterior of my bracelet. Now what I want to do is I need to cut a slot at the bottom of this to be able to fit my arm in there. So I'm going to draw a line from midpoint, and I'm drawing a line outwards this way with a length of 17. That gives me a line with a total length of 34mm. Nah, 34 is not going to be big enough. I need a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that point 1, 2, move that point 1, 2, make it 3. Let's end up with a nice even 38mm. Let's have a look. I just want to double check that. Measuring 36mm. And we need a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to move that 1 point that way and 1 point that way. So now in theory, we still should be aligned. Oh, that's why I'm off. I move it over that way. And now I'm exactly aligned with the center. I'm going to draw a line up from that end to there and draw a line up from there to there. I'm going to use those as my trimming objects to cut there and there. Delete that. This is the base of my bracelet, but what I want to do is I want to blend those two together to have a nice smooth transition from here to here. So I'm going to select the blend arc tool, click that end, and now I can edit that blend by clicking and dragging that point up and down. That'll do the trick, and I'm just going to go ahead and mirror this to the opposite side so it looks identical. Oops. Delete the extra spare there, and I go ahead and I join everything, and I confirm that my edges match by selecting the object, going to object properties and saying details. It's a valid closed polycurve. All right, cool. That gives me the base for the shape I need. Now technically I don't need that interior anymore, so I'm going to delete those drawing aids. And next up is a relatively important step, is later when I align these stacked slices, I want to make sure I can glue them together easily. So I'm going to make some indexing marks over here. I'm going to draw a circle here with the diameter of 5mm. I'm just going to position that about there. That should do the trick. And I'm going to mirror this over to the opposite side. So those will be to my indexing marks or my alignment points for when I glue my bracelet together. So if I drop in a 5mm drill bit or 5mm dowel stick, it'll help me align my parts exactly. All right, so this is the base for my design. Now what I need to do is I need to make a bunch of these. So now I'm just going to go out, double click my 4-port view, and I'm going to select these, and I'm going to say I want to make multiple copies of these. So I'm going to say copy, and I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to click on the same line as those, go up 1, 2, 3, because my wood is 3mm thick. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just want to double check. I want to scale this up, this up, this up. Okay, I don't need that many. I only need the 6. There we go. So I only need those 6 items. So this will be my total thickness. Now, I could, in theory, have used the rectangular array tool to make that, but it can take a little bit longer. So what I want to do now is I want to make the inside smooth, and I want to step the outsides, but not all of them. I want to select the second one from the outside and the center. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn points on for those, so they stay on. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of those exterior points, those ones. And I'm from center going to scale 2D from that center point. And I'm just going to scale out here until I see I'm about 3 millimeters, maybe a little bit bigger than 3 millimeters out. So that's scaled up the middle one, second from the end, and second from the end. That made those bigger. Now I want the central ridge to stand out more, so I'm going to deselect that one by holding the control key. I drag over the objects I want to deselect. Now I only have the control points for the center one selected. Again, I'm going to go ahead and say scale 2D from exactly the center, scale out again so that we're approximately 3 millimeters larger. And that should have made just the center one a little bit bigger. Let's have a look quickly. You'll see that only the center one has gotten a little bit bigger. That's pretty much exactly what I wanted. So I don't need control points anymore. I can hit escape to deactivate the control points. And you'll see that I am nice and smooth on this. Oh, I did select a different set of points over here. I did accidentally mess up. You see how these stay together a little bit closer and these do not stay together. Now, I can fix that one of two ways. Either I can Control Z and do that again, or I can chop it in half and just mirror the whole thing on over. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and draw a block that goes to about the center. I'm happy with what I got there. Doing that. And I'm saying I want to trim all of that. Delete the block. Now that was an accident on my part, but it's an easy one to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and say mirror over. And now we have 2 identical halves without the little extra step there, which I messed up. Select everything and say join. And now what I want to do is I want to make sure that these indexing marks stay with their corresponding layers. So I'm going to maximize my top window. Select that and say group. Select the next one and say group. And I'm just going to fast forward this section so you don't have to sit and watch me group individual layers. All right, so with those grouped now, they will stay together. So if I select one, it selects the 2 corresponding indexing marks as well. Now, the last step that I want to do is I need to change the color for these so I can laser cut effectively. Number 1, and number 2, I might do that right at the end. I need to unstack these in an order so that I can number them, so I can assemble them with the correct stacking order when I do that. So I'm going to select all of those except the last one. Select all of those, slide them over this way. Again, I'm holding Control to deselect, and I select the next layer up, slide them on over that way. I select the next layer, or deselect the next layer, slide them over this way. Select the next layer, slide them over this way. Select the next layer, slide them on this way. Select the last layer, and then slide it that way. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to label these so I know the assembly order. So I'm going to maximize this viewport quickly. And I'm going to go ahead and say text tool there. Now I've already done a dry run of this. That's why you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over there. And I want to make sure that they are smaller than the width of my bracelet. So I'm going to go ahead and make that 5 millimeters like mine is there. And we need curves. So I hit OK. And I have a set of numbers there. Now, to save myself some time, I'm going to select all of those and change their color to red, because for my laser cutter, red is score. I also don't want to lose these interior parts, so I select that and say group, select that and say group. And now I just need to go ahead and grab these and stick them in their corresponding pieces for when we laser cut. Now, be aware, if I place them close to the internal edge, I won't see them when I glue up. If I place them too wide on the outside edge, I might see them when I glue up later. So be sure that you'd rather place them too close to the interior edge than the exterior edge. Grabbing these, and then from left to right, we are labeling them like that. And I am, for interest's sake, just holding Shift while I drag these to temporarily disable my ortho. So you will see as I hold down Shift. Oh, it doesn't actually show it there. Interesting. All right. So I'm going to grab all of those, and then, actually what I want to do is I want to ungroup these because I want to make the interior cuts, do those interior cuts first. So I'm going to say ungroup all of those, and I'm going to grab all of these numbers except the numbers. Don't need the numbers. And I'm going to change the color for those to blue because I want to cut them first before I cut the outsides to make sure nothing falls apart. Then select the outside guys and change their color to green, and then group these individually so they stay together. Grab that and say group, grab that and say group, grab this and say group, grab that and say group, this one and that one. So now all of these are grouped individually. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and arrange them so that they will we can waste a little bit less material when we cut this. So I'm just going to go ahead and say rotate these guys over to there. And I'm just going to stack these to waste as little material as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now this is an optional extra step. If you are not concerned with wasting material, you don't really have to do this extra step. But I am frugal and I don't want to waste material. So I go ahead and pack these in as tightly as I can to not waste material. There we go. And make sure that none of these overlap. Perfect. So there we go. We've made our design for our stackable bracelet. And we are organized to waste as little material as possible so we can export this in the appropriate file format so we can go ahead and laser cut that now. And when we are done and we assemble it, it will hopefully look a little bit like this. It's not particularly creative, but it does illustrate how we can make a three-dimensional object out of stacked slices effectively. Thanks for joining me, and I hope this video was useful. Thanks.